And here we are for a Monday morning, the 12th of February, 2024. My, how time flies. Okay, so Friday was a humongous trend day. Two instances, starting out with the overnight when they took out the all-time high, etc. Then it was taken out again. Big trend day from yesterday. Where's the overnight here? Okay, here was the previous overnight. All-time high was originally down here at 32. Data, adjusted data. They popped a new high in here. Of course, retail regular trading hours traders are never going to let that stand. So they threw in a couple more highs up here. And now everybody's kind of on oxygen or, whatever it is they're doing. And here is the overnight at this point. I am not going to plan to engage in the market, even though we've just now opened. You see that we opened right just at the overnight or regular trading hours close. So it would, I don't know, flip a coin. Is it higher in range, higher out of range? What is it? Right on the open, or the close. I'm sorry. Here we have the initial VPOC jumped straight up to the full session VPOC, which was here. This will give you an idea of how exhausted traders were. It's less than 10 points, 6 points, 7 point range all night. This is the full session VPOC. This is the complete range from the overnight, from 1700 last night. This is now the current session or the RTH, and this is the chart volume profile. These are the price levels which are pushed from IRT. I'll now change IRT to the day session charts, which will affect these. And I have not input the percentages here against the various price levels, which is a study that I have comes from IRT. IRT, excuse me. We'll start to track the migrating volume profile, migrating volume point of control. I don't know why I keep saying that wrong. Anyway, the reason I do this is as this volume profile moves, and it's much more erratic in the early part of the session because obviously there's just a teensy bit of volume around here. I mark it, and as it moves, it's obvious where it is so far, but as the day progresses, this will scroll off the screen, and so I can have a quick reference point right here. Looks like we're getting some, I don't know what that would be. The overnight profile was pretty much flat, a little bit up. Again, I'm going to let this whole thing settle out. Here is the previous RTH high and the new all-time high of the ES. So maybe they're going to go up there and kiss that thing again. I don't know. I think everything's, the stream seems to be flowing, which is magical. I have no real motivation to engage today, to be honest about it. It's I think it's going to be a breather day, probably a close, tight range. You have to be very mindful in situations where there's been a huge move, big trend day, all-time highs, blah, 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 that you trade what you see on the following subsequent days. This is not Friday anymore, So this is just have to keep an eye on what's going on. And if something presents itself, a structured trade presents itself, then you execute on it. That's how it works. That's how the proper trading business as a business of probabilities. And that's what I'm trying to adhere to rigidly. And I shouldn't say trying, actually. Well, yeah, you're always trying. So you see how this migrated up just a teensy bit here? That constitutes me throwing in another one of these. Whoa, yeah. Haven't even activated the multi-brackets, which I will do now. This is the two-lot package or unit for a risk neutral trade. Two contracts, 12 tick stops. First profit is 12 ticks profitable, which means that the second contract is riding for free. And that's how that works. There's a bit of an idiosyncrasy around this input tool for multi-bracket. You can't set both stops exactly at 12. So I just move them. The second the trade is put on, you can adjust them, no problem. And then I will activate the trade function. Both means I can trade with the keyboard and the chart, the mouse, and because that's mandatory for me because I initiate trades with the keyboard. But then I use a mouse to adjust targets and stuff. All right, there we go. And that's about it. And now we watch. So far, we've got a walloping 2.5 tick range, in the open. So I'm going to be looking at my journal and working on some statistics and a couple other things that I need to do here today. Keeping a cursory eye on the market, but I certainly don't have any great expectations after the dramatic moves on Friday and then the pathetic story last night in the ETH. There's no real numbers or speakers. There's nothing particular in earnings, which basically means then that there's not a lot of market moving inputs to be expected. We're slowly grinding up here. They may try to get another all-time high, which is wonderful. Assuming they do, that's only 5 ticks. So there's the open. 7. Call me a liar. Yeah. Opened right on the EVPOC, basically. Mids, outdone. All of the typical stats, you see how close, when the range is so close overnight, the stats are all stacked up. So what do they mean? Nothing. I mean, those aren't real targets. The principle behind the risk neutral trading is that there has to be the first scale. Let me start over. The range, you have to evaluate the range from the trigger to the first scale, and that must be 3 points or more before the first obstacle. So if you wanted to enter a trade here at 44.5, it would not be 3 points before you got to this obstacle of liquidity. Okay? So that means there's not enough range for me to take or engage in that trade. And then the second one, because once you take the first scale, you're risk neutral, and then you can do what you need to do with trade management, with the trailing stop and or your targets. target, depending on how many packages you trade. For the purposes here, I trade one package of 2 contracts. And there's plenty of people with trading lots more, I'm sure. There's some crazy concepts around now with these funding companies offering the ability of some of them, not all of them. Some of these funding companies offer the ability for these guys to have multiple funding, whatever, evaluation accounts or whatever, combines, TopStep called them. I don't know what some of these other guys call them, at the same time. And then 1 or 2 of them allow trade copying, which means if I have 2 or say I have 2 other of those accounts tied to this one for trade copying, any trade or movement I make here is replicated in them, the other 2 accounts. Why in the hell? Yeah. Well, anyway, so some fella got on a Trader's Lab and was figuring out, was describing how he'd figured out that he's got so many of these accounts, he's trading 100 lots. Jesus, I mean, there's absolutely no possible reality associated with that, any way, shape, or form. One stop in the 3-point risk neutral setup that I use is $30,000. And one stop is going to cost him $30,000. Now somehow he's figured out that that's a good idea, which is kind of strange. I'm assuming he doesn't understand risk management or leverage. And surely he must know that it's just all a bunch of sim crap. And the only person that's winning is the evaluation company, because this guy is paying him money every month for each one of those 10 accounts. He's got, say he's paying $50, that's $500 a month. Crazy. Anyway, to each their own. To each their own. So I will just keep this at a very minimal, what happened here? Very minimal dialogue and a very short stream. Beautiful day. Chilly. 6 degrees C here, Central Standard Time. But it's sunny and I've got a couple things I can get accomplished here. I think much more so than watching the market flop around inside of a 3-handle range. I think a nap sounds like a better investment of my time than standing here all day waiting to get chopped up. I think I'll put on the Be Right Back and mute out the mic and go get some more pineapple. I suppose one of the most important take homes from a day like this, or an open like this, is to just, go find something better to do. Or, if you don't have the mindset or the discipline, or, pick a name to stand here and watch the market and not trade, then go do something else. This is stupid. This is retail soup, man. This is three handles, total range since the open. Yeah, maybe they're just consolidating and this thing's going to break loose like Katie barred the door. I don't know. But anybody that's trying to engage in this thing unless you're just playing it as a video game, and then it's like, I don't know. I've never played a video game on a computer, so I don't know. War of, I don't know what they call it. This first-person shooter crap and all those kind of things. Just click the hell out of it. But that's not why I'm here, and that's not the purpose of the stream and stuff. So, this is not a video game. This is my trading business, which is a business of probabilities. I have and continue to collect the data around each of my trade setups, and that data must be organized with specific parameters around it. In other words, all of the instances of a specific setup when we have had an opening type of higher in range, for example, there's four: higher out of range, higher in range, lower in range, and lower out of range. So there's the four opening types. So all the trades within each one of those, and then with the similar context. And you have to do that in order to have a statistically significant data set. Apples and apples, in other words. You can't compare apples and oranges. I continue to do that, and then once I have a statistically reasonable or significant sample set, say 50 trades, I'm able to determine whether that particular setup has a positive edge, i.e. a positive expectancy. If it does, then you take every damn one of those trades. And the law of large numbers applies to your account. It's the exact analogy. I mean, the closest analogy, or not even an analogy, the closest proof of that concept is the gaming business from the point of view of a casino. They have determined that 21, blackjack, has a specific edge of X percent, which I don't know, played with the exact same rules. And they played that as many opportunities as they can, and it's pretty obvious who's making the money, gamblers or the casino. It's that simple. They don't, somebody wins, they don't change the rules. They don't change the number of cards. They don't change how many cards are in, or whatever they are, decks in the shoe. I don't know, all that stuff. I'm not a gambler either, but, they don't change any of those rules. You don't shoot the dealer if somebody wins, They just deal the next hand. And the law of large numbers applies, and, drive to Vegas or anywhere that has a casino town and see what you find. And that is the whole basic premise of the trading business. It's also, if you listen to any of the bigger hedge fund guys like Ken Griffin or anybody at Citadel or any of those people, it's the same exact idea. I was listening to an interview with him over the weekend from the New Economic Forum in Singapore. It's just passed. They have 1,500 programmers working on various statistic theories for their trades. And he started out, his business is absolutely built, the same thing with Jim Simons. It's absolutely built on math and statistics. You find a profitable or a high probability edge, they call it. And there you go. And this ain't it. This is retail soup. So anyway, I think I'm going to just cut this stream off here at the top of the hour and find something better to do, to be honest about it. Discretion is the better part of valor, eh? I'm going to shut the stream off here at the 30-minute mark, which will be about the top of the hour, and go find something better to do. This is a market is suicide. There's a 3-point range in the regular trading hours in the first half hour. So, and it could take off like a rocket after this consolidation. There's no question about that. But there's a series of liquidity levels above here to the overnight, to the all-time high. There's a spread between POC, mid, VWAP. You know, there's no range. There's no trade opportunity for me, and I'm not going to busy myself trying to find one. That's you don't look for a trade. You have specific trade setups for a market configuration, and you then have, they should be, your trade and your target should be well identified, well in advance, and you should just be anticipating when they get there to execute. And I have nothing here at all. So I'm going to resist the temptation to trade hell out of things. Which is just crazy in my view. And there's probably people that have, I don't know how the hell you'd make money there, but I mean, look at that. There's one full session VPOC, mid VWAP, POC, high day, obstacle liquidity. You know, yeah, no thanks. And so with that, I will bid thee a farewell, and we'll